Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the first economics topic on this channel, and it's going to be on supply and demand. So I hope you enjoy the video, and please stick around for part 2 if you're interested in the content. See you next time. Alright everybody, so welcome to the first video on my channel, and this is going to be the first video of the economics series of this channel. And the first one's going to be based on supply and demand, and there's going to be multiple parts for this one. So let's get started. Supply and demand form the foundation for all economic theory. So this is very important and the basis for all of any economics theory course you're going to take. And interestingly, they're also how real-world markets function. So from the supply side and the demand side, there are actually two sides, and they're both of the same coin in that they're related. So that in sum, they provide the same market overview, but from two different perspectives. Again, one is from the supply side, or sellers, and one is from the demand side, or buyers. Their interaction creates the notion of a market equilibrium, and you may have heard this in some of your courses. And the equilibrium market price and quantity are determined where supply and demand interact in the marketplace. So a market can be anything from a market for kiwis to a market for financial markets, which trade stocks and ETFs, which are exchange-traded funds. The amount of a good that's demanded by consumers or sold by sellers at each price level then forms the basis to find an equilibrium market price and quantity. So essentially, the amount that buyers are willing to buy and sellers are willing to produce allows us to find a price and quantity where they interact. So I'm going to start here with the demand side, since it's a little bit easier to start from the demand side. So demand stems from exactly what it sounds like. It's the amount of good or service a market offers, and it's demanded at each price that the market or sellers choose. So essentially this means that the amount of good or service a market offers is chosen by the buyers based on the price level. So as an example, I've chosen a consumer here. His name is Andy, and another named Jacob. Andy demands 10 kiwis at a price of $2 per kiwi. So the sellers are offering it at $2 per kiwi. Another consumer, Jacob, would demand only 2 kiwis at a price of $2, and this shows willingness to pay of both consumers. So the total market demand then is the sum of all the demand from individual consumers like Andy and Jacob, and also the other buyers in the market. The market demand creates a visual representation called the market demand curve, and we'll take a look at this in part 2. So now we can take a look at the other side of the market, which is the supply side. So it's the opposite idea of demand, because as with demand, the price has an influence on how much sellers are willing to produce. So the higher the price a seller can charge, the more they will supply. So the amount of good or service a seller chooses to supply is based on the price level that's determined within the market. And this is, again, the market equilibrium that determines this price and quantity, and therefore determines how much this seller is willing to supply. So we're going to look at an example here. So there's two sellers in our example. We have Costco and Walmart. So at $1 per kiwi, Costco will supply 50 kiwis, but Walmart will only supply will supply up to 100 kiwis at a price of $1. And this shows the willingness to sell. So the same price, different sellers are willing to supply different amounts. And this is the willingness to supply, as mentioned before. So similar to market demand, market supply is simply this total sum of all the sellers like Costco and Walmart in the market, among others, and it creates the total supply in the market, and a visual representation is called the market supply curve. So thank you for watching, and watch part 2 for the next part about the demand and supply curve, as well as a visual representation of these two.